meet someone for the first time, you ask them their name. Hello, my name is Rachel Harry. And invariably, without fail, the second thing you ask is what? What do you do? Very good. What do? I do theater. What does that mean? I do theater. Well, I teach, I write scripts, I direct plays, musicals, I create performance art, I do a lot of design work. My furniture can be seen on stage. My children and my dogs have been incorporated into some of my productions. My son, many years ago, provided the recorded voice of a wailing infant Helen Keller stricken with scarlet fever for my production of The Miracle Worker. And sometimes, from time to time, I can be seen performing on stage, which is actually the original reason why I became enthralled in this art form as a 6-year-old. You see, I'm the youngest of a large family, right? You can guess. I found that dance and acting were terrific ways to get a little attention. And contrary to what my siblings will tell you, I was not showing off, I was performing. This is my life, and this is my world. I learned how to be human in the theater. My first kiss was a stage kiss. All right, my first 3 kisses were stage kisses. I learned how to view the world by reading plays. I learned about life by doing theater. And my students will tell you, when asked over the years what they learned in my classes, that they learned more than just theater pedagogy. They learned about life lessons. And this is important to me. In fact, it's probably the most important reason why I teach theater. You see, I find that when I teach theater concepts, I'm also teaching how to cope with life. Now, this is of immense value to my students. It's also of immense value to the world. You see, what we learn in theater is a terrific way to interact with a very diverse world. Now, you might wonder, what does this woman teach in her classes? Well, I'm going to give you some concepts of theater. When I talk to my peers about diversity in theater, they all nod, yes, yes. Theater includes people of all kinds, ethnicities, sexual orientation, and that's true. But I'm referring to something else. Theater teaches one to communicate to diverse skills, sets of thinking skills. There we go. I knew I'd get that out. You see, theater is the only art that actively collaborates with all the other art forms. Theater needs visual arts, it needs music, it needs dance, it needs the written word. And the artists from all these genres, they think differently. But there's more. Theater also depends on science and technology to promote or to produce its productions. To create a play requires not only a diverse set of population, but a diverse set of thinking communication skills. You see, a theater program draws on students from all programs, all departments in a school, and each is recognized and respected for what they bring to the table. I have a wonderful story of collaboration between these different thinking skills. My stage manager decided last fall that I needed snow to fall from the ceiling in the final scene of the first act of the musical. So I described to her how a professional theater with fly space and rigging, such as New York City Ballet, creates the snow for their productions of Nutcracker. Now, my stage manager is also a dancer and a member as well of our acclaimed robotics team. She is incredibly skilled at communicating with both artists and scientists. She collaborated with my lighting designer, who's also a member of the robotics team, and using their familiarity with our agricultural base, devised a 35-foot-long snow machine made of PVC irrigation pipe, multiple drilled holes, a very elegant rigging system, and of course the obligatory duct tape. To teach this, I actively teach this by using a process in how we would critique student scene performance. My student critiquers are only allowed to say, this works, keep it. This works, this does not work. How can we make this stronger? And as a class, we brainstorm ways to help strengthen that scene. We consider what works for us, and then we modify that to fit the individual on stage. Embracing diversity requires just that, the ability to acknowledge and accept the strengths and weaknesses of others without judgment, and to accept the strengths and weaknesses within ourselves. What if all the countries of the world could acknowledge and accept both these attributes and then collaborate to help strengthen each other? Theater teaches a student to develop one's own voice. Over the course of development of the human being, there evolves a desire to fit in, to belong. And this desire is so strong, we're willing to subjugate our own feelings, our own needs, our own thoughts, so we can conform. In class, when we're working on acting or improvisational skills, we actually have exercises that promote original thought. We practice games that help us to stop, listen to our instincts, not judge them, but allow them out. There's an actor's term called flash. Now, flash occurs when you're on stage listening to someone, and if you're really listening to someone, a recognition, a realization, a flash of an idea will pop into your head. We learn to listen to those thoughts because they are important, they are your own, and they have a value. In an improv scene, an actor will have these responses occur to her, and instead of shutting them down or stifling them, she learns to give those thoughts a voice. And often these are the best lines. The audience responds to them because they are honest. In class, we work on enhancing our creativity through just these kinds of exercises. And we learn to enhance our creativity by simply freeing up the student's imagination. What if a country specifically trained its citizens to enhance their creativity to solve problems and to have courage and confidence in their own voice to speak up when the need arises? Last concept. Finding a character demands empathy. Now, in class, I work on providing tools for the students to develop an honest character on stage. You see, when an actor is cast, they're given a script, and all it contains is the dialogue of a story, and they must explore that character by creating a backstory or history that motivates the character to say and act as they do. As an actor, I use the backstory to inform my mood, and thus how I might deliver a line. I must seek out similarities between myself and that character, and then contemplate how I might respond in those same situations. I must also seek out the differences between myself and that character and ponder what were the forces that caused those differences. To find the motivation of a character, I have to define the reasons for her actions. And to teach this, I ask my students to make observations of others, close observations, but not to judge, to learn. I ask them to initiate a conversation with someone who might have similar qualities to the character they're studying, or perhaps maybe even emulate some of the aspects of that lifestyle. Dustin Hoffman is famous for dressing as a woman and living as a woman in New York City to create his celebrated character of Tootsie. He said he wished he'd explored this character as a much younger man. He said he missed out on meeting so many interesting, wonderful women because he didn't know how to truly value a woman until he had lived as one. What could happen in a country? What could happen in our country if we were taught, actively taught, to truly empathize with others? Now, I've had the joy of spending many years, a lot of years, working with a large group of teenagers from the ages of 14 and 18. And we have spent classes working on lessons to help them learn how to view others without judging, to develop diverse communication strategies, to enhance their character or creativity and their character, and to truly understand and have confidence in their own voice. And this all falls under the aspect or the title of teaching theater. We have spent countless hours exploring the lives of people, both fictional and true. Now you're going to, if you are familiar with this production, you're going to go, she uses a lot of pictures from a musical called Catch Me If You Can. That one. And it's true. And I chose this musical because it's an excellent example that expresses the ideas I'm trying to convey to you today. On the surface, this is a fast-paced, glittery, Vegas-style production of high kicks and jazz hands. It's also the true story of Frank Abagnale Jr., his parents, and a detective named Hanratty, a very smart detective. On the surface, we see a criminal who bilked thousands out of more than $1 million 1960s dollars before he reached the age of 21. But as we explore the character more deeply, we see a young man reeling from the breakup of his family and the tragic demise of a father whom he idolized. And as we explore this character scene by scene, we see the motivations, and so we understand. And we also see a detective who understands that he's not chasing a hardened criminal, but rather a very troubled, very bright young man. And his compassion and ability to see past those actions was discussed in many a rehearsal. Now, the real Frank Abagnale Jr. sent us some emails and a letter, which my music director has framed in his office. That was exciting. And he talked about that compassion and empathy that detective had for him. And that detective ultimately became, in real life, his mentor and best friend. Now, all this happened in a theater program in a small rural high school, in a community that understands and supports a full 4-year theater program taught by a teacher with a master's degree in theater. And I tell you this because it is rare. And I firmly believe we need to change that fact. You see, less than half of all secondary public schools have any kind of a theater class in their programs. And of that 45%, 12%, only 12 have a full 4-year program. Now, most high schools offer an after-school production. And this is terrific. But again, realize only half of those productions are taught by someone who is a certified art specialist in theater. If we look at these statistics, you're going to see, well, first let me tell you, I don't want to cast shade on music and visual arts because remember, I collaborate with them. We need them. But you're going to see that music and visual arts garner far more respect than theater. Now, is this important? Well, it depends on what you want. If you want students to simply have an experience performing on stage, then this is enough. Because honestly, theater can happen anywhere and it can be done pretty well. But, if you want students to learn the skills to mount a quality production, if you want students to become better world citizens in any career they choose, well, then you need a strong theater program taught by a qualified instructor. Theater needs to take the stage as the important art form in public education that it truly is. Thank you.